Shalom, Shalom, Yashala. All praise in the Most High, Ashur Haya, Bashem, Mashiach, Yeshai. It's your brother Shimon coming at y'all today with a lesson on the Feast of the Passover and the Feast of Unleavened Bread. Feast of the Passover was yesterday. We kept the feast. I was trying to do the video yesterday, but Slakia, y'all. Just trying to do a whole lot of things with this COVID-19 situation going down. Kind of gave us some difficulties, but nevertheless, we'll do the video on it to edify Israel, to know that this is a feast we got to keep. It's in our law, and how to keep it with the faith in Hamashiach Yeshai. Right? So we're going to start at Exodus chapter 12, and it's basically going to be this whole chapter. So we're going to read this whole chapter. And the highest spake unto Moses. This is Exodus chapter 12, verse 1. And the highest spake unto Moses and Aaron in the land of Egypt, saying, verse 2, This month shall be unto you the beginning of months. It shall be the first month of the year to you. Verse 3, Speak ye unto all the congregation of Israel, saying, In the 10th day of this month they shall take to them every man a lamb, according to the house of their fathers, a lamb for an house. And verse 4, And if the household be too little for the lamb, let him and his neighbor next unto his house take it according to the number of the souls. Every man according to his eating shall make your count for the lamb. So it's just giving understanding the 10th day. Okay, everybody got to get the lamb put in their gates, right? Your lamb shall be without blemish, a male of the first year. Ye shall take it out from the sheep or from the goats. So when you keep the Passover, you can put, you can use sheep or a goat. Both of them, these are lambs, right? Male and female. And ye shall keep it until the 14th day of the same month, and the whole assembly of the congregation of Israel shall kill it in the evening. 14 days. So you have it in your gates for 4 days. Of course, this is the implementation right now of this, and we'll get into how we keep this today. All right, but this is the implementation, the first Passover right here. And they shall take of the blood and strike it on the two side posts and on the upper doorposts of the houses wherein they shall eat it. And they shall eat the flesh in that night, roast with fire, and unleavened bread with bitter herbs they shall eat it. So it's giving you an understanding that the Feast of Unleavened Bread is a one-day feast on the Sabbath, but also the next feast, the second feast of our year, second holy feast, is the Feast of Unleavened Bread, which starts at evening the next day. Okay, and so that Passover meal is to be killed at evening, and you eat the Passover lamb with the unleavened bread, or unleavened bread with bitter herbs. That's a meal that's all together on the going out of at the end of the Passover. That's when you're supposed to eat the unleavened bread. So it's you're doing 2 holy days at once, leading into the Feast of Unleavened Bread, which is going to be 7 days, right? Eat not of it raw, nor sodden at all with water, but roast with fire his head and his legs, and with the purtenance thereof. Verse 10, Ye shall let nothing of it remain until the morning, and that which remaineth of it until the morning ye shall burn with fire. So, when you have the feast, whatever you don't eat, you got to burn it or throw it away, because it's only to be eaten that day, and you're going to see why. And thus, verse 11, Thus shall ye eat it with your loins girded, with your shoes on your feet, and your staff in your hand, and ye shall eat it in haste. It is a highest Passover. So when you eat this, we're acting out the same way that this went down in ancient Egypt. Okay, our brethren and our foremothers and our kin, they had to eat everything quickly, and they eat it with their girded loins, with their pants on, their staff in their hands, sitting up in a chair, eating it real fast. Okay, this is the way the Most High said, man, do this real quick. I want you to do it, right? For I will pass through the land of Egypt this night, and I will smite all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, both man and beast, and against all the gods of Egypt I will execute judgment. I am Ahia. So he wanted to hurry up and do this. Kill the lamb, eat it, put the blood on the doorpost. Boom, 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 right? Verse 13. The blood shall be to you for a token upon the houses where you are. And when I see the blood, I will pass over you. And the plague shall not be upon you to destroy you when I smite the land of Egypt. So the Passover is describing the angel of the Most High passing over your house and not bringing the plague and destruction on your house to kill the firstborn in that house. This is where the word Passover comes from. That right there, the angel passing over the house, right? Verse 14, and this day shall be unto you for a memorial, and you shall keep it a feast to Ahia throughout your generations. You shall keep it a feast by an ordinance forever. All right? So if you're a bloodline, descendant of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, you're supposed to be keeping the feast of the Passover forever. Doesn't go away. Doesn't matter if you're not in Israel. You're supposed to keep the feast of Passover. And we're going to go into that too. Verse 15. 7 days shall ye eat unleavened bread. Even the first day ye shall put away leaven out of your houses. For whosoever eateth leavened bread from the first day until the 7th day, that soul shall be cut off from Israel. So now it's going right into the very next feast, which is right after the feast of the Passover. Feast of unleavened bread. 7 days, you got to eat unleavened bread. That's bread with no yeast, no leavening agent to make it rise, all right? So it's like pita bread, right? Bread that don't rise up. You got any bread in your house, donut, cakes, muffins, any of that, you got to throw that away, okay? Get that out your house and don't have no leavening in your house for the next 7 days, right? And don't eat no leavened bread for the next 7 days. This is a holy day for us, right? He wants us to do this. Verse 16, and in the first day there shall be an holy convocation. We know that is a set apart formal gathering of people, or what we will come together and gather as an assembly of the Most High, right? To worship the Most High. And in the 7th day there shall be a holy convocation to you. So these are going to be as Sabbaths. The first day of Feast of Unleavened Bread, which is today, we're to have a holy convocation. Even though it's not the Sabbath day, we're still going to hold it as a holy convocation. And on next Sabbath, which is 7 days from now, next Sabbath, there's going to be another holy convocation. All right? So that's how he wants this done. The first and last days of the Feast of Unleavened Bread, they're going to be kept as Sabbaths. Read it again, verse 16. And in the first day there should be an holy convocation, and in the 7th day there shall be an holy convocation to you. No manner of work shall be done in them, save that which every man must eat, that only may be done of you. So you can cook the food that you're going to use for the Passover, and then the making of the unleavened bread. That's the only tenet of the Sabbath that you don't have to follow, because you got to make these things, right? Passover feast, and the Feast of Unleavened Bread. That's the only thing you can do as far as on the first day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread and the last day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread that are Sabbaths. You can cook on those days because you got to make these foods. You understand? Verse 17. And ye shall observe the Feast of Unleavened Bread, for in this same day have I brought your armies and out of the land of Egypt. Therefore shall ye observe this day in your generations by an ordinance forever. So this is a reminder. You know, this is like what you call a national holiday for a certain nation. This is our national holy day of what the Most High did when he saved our forefathers from the affliction of the Egyptians and brought us out. So this is a commemoration. That's what he wants us to do. It's a memorial. Okay, we're going to remember everything Ahia does for us, right? Forever. Now, verse 18. In the first month, on the 14th day of the month at evening, ye shall eat unleavened bread until the 21st day of the month at evening. 7 days. Verse 19. 7 days shall there be no leaven found in your houses, for whosoever eateth that which is leavened, even that soul shall be cut off from the congregation of Israel, whether he be a stranger or born in the land. So you got to put away the leaven out your house for the next 7 days. Point blank period. Very clear, very simple. It's there, you know, it's a sacrifice unto the Most High. He going to bless you. Throw that stuff away. Ye shall eat nothing leavened. In all your habitations shall ye eat unleavened bread. So whatever you're doing, wherever you at, you got to eat unleavened bread. Don't eat no leavened bread. You know, eat the crackers too. You know, people use the crackers. 21, verse 21. Then Moses called for all the elders of Israel and said unto them, draw out and take you a lamb according to your families, and kill the Passover. And ye shall take a bunch of hyssop, and dip it in the blood that is in the basin, and strike the lintel and the 2 side posts with the blood that is in the basin. And none of you shall go out at the door of his house until the morning. So, we eat the Passover. When the Passover was done here, they did it within their gates. And you're going to see there's a difference when we keep the Passover. But when he had them keep the Passover here, once they ate it, they was supposed to stay inside for the whole night. Because that angel was going to go around, bringing judgment on all the firstborn of Egypt, right? Verse 23. For I will pass through to smite the Egyptians, and when he seeth the blood upon the lintel and on the 2 side posts, I will pass over the door, and will not suffer the destroyer to come in unto your houses to smite you. Verse 24. And ye shall observe this thing for an ordinance to thee and to thy sons forever. You keep hearing that forever. This is something we supposed to do, right? Verse 25. And it shall come to pass, when ye be come to the land which I will give you, according as he had promised, that ye shall keep this service. And it shall come to pass, when your children shall say unto you, what mean you by this service? Verse 27. That ye shall say, it is the sacrifice of Ahiah's Passover, who passed over the houses of the children of Israel and Egypt, when he smote the Egyptians and delivered our houses. And the people bowed their head and worship. So this is the understanding Moses was giving our forefathers when he told them to keep the Passover. This is what you about to do. And then when you get to the land that the Most High promised us through Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, you're going to keep it there too. And you're going to teach your children and tell them why. Okay? Because every nation is supposed to know their history. And of course, our nation, that was one of our curses. We discontinue from our heritage. Jeremiah 17:4. So now, as we coming back into our history and heritage of being a holy nation before the Most High, we got to keep this in with our families and teach our children what we doing this for. Just like it said in the Word, why are we doing this? It's because the Most High told us to do it, number one. And number two is because we're commemorating the deliverance that he gave us by a mighty hand, stretched out arm, bringing us out of Egypt, saving us from not having our firstborn killed by the destroyer, right? Verse 28. And the children of Israel went away and did as Ahiah had commanded Moses and Aaron, so did they. Verse 29. And it came to pass that at midnight Ahiah smote all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, from the firstborn of Pharaoh that sat on his throne unto the firstborn of the captive that was in the dungeon, and all the firstborn of cattle. And Pharaoh rose up in the night, and he and all servants and all the Egyptians, and there was a great cry in Egypt, for there was not a house where there was not one dead. So everybody happened to have a firstborn son or a firstborn cattle. And then there was somebody dead everywhere in every house in the whole country. All right? That's what this modern word will call a pandemic. Okay? The Most High, man, put forth that mighty hand for our behalf. Because he wouldn't let us, Pharaoh wouldn't let us go. Hit him with all these plagues, he wouldn't let us go. So this was the last plague he hit him with. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, I'm not playing with you. Right? Most High showed his wonders in Egypt, right? Verse 31. And he called for Moses, Pharaoh, and he called for Moses and Aaron by night, and said, rise up, and get you forth from amongst my people, both you and the children of Israel, go, serve Ahiah as ye have said. Also take your flocks and your herds, as ye have said, and be gone, and bless me also. So he's like, yeah, man, get up out of here and bless me while you going, man, because y'all power just gave me the business, Y'all get up out of here, but, man, bless me, though, too, because, man, we all messed up down here, man. We had all these plagues hit us, man. Our cattle, all these flies, frogs, and hail and fire, blood in all our water, locusts everywhere, eat up all our food, man. Bless me, though, before you leave. You know what I'm saying? Verse 33, and the Egyptians were very urgent upon the people that they might send them out of the land in haste. For they said, we be all dead men. So they was like, man, y'all hurry up and get out of here, man. For y'all power, do something else to it. You know what I'm saying? Hurry up, get up out of here. So it was a haste. They were trying to rush us out of there. So we ate the Passover in haste. Then the Most High stirred up Pharaoh, finally unhardened his heart. All right, get up out of here. And hurry up, get up out of here. So now they're rushing us to leave, right? They're rushing us. Verse 34, and the people took their dough before it was leavened. So they took their bread, took their dough mix before they put the leavening agent in it. Because they was rushing, right? their netting troughs being bound up in their clothes upon their shoulders. And the children of Israel did according to the word of Moses, and they borrowed of the Egyptians. And they borrowed of the Egyptians jewels of silver and jewels of gold and raiment. So they just had to grab. Some people was cooking at the time, making the bread. No. Get up out of there. Grab what you got. So they got up out of there in haste. Didn't grab the Lebanon agent. And they leaving up out of there. Just grabbing everything going. They borrowing. Man, give me some silver. Give me some gold. You know, mind you, they living in Egypt. Egypt's wealthy right now. Rich, right? Off the slavery and the blood, sweat, and tears off the children of Israel. Same way America, okay, modern Egypt is balling out of control off the slave of, children of Israel. And so they borrowed from their neighbors when they left. We probably going to be doing the same, right? And it says, verse 36, and Ahiah gave the people favor in the sight of the Egyptians, so that they lent unto them such things as they required, and they spoiled the Egyptians. So we didn't just leave out of there with nothing. We leave out of there out of control balling. Super wealth, gold, silver, basins, all kinds of stuff. Cattle, all of that. Herds, everything. Verse 37, and the children of Israel journeyed from Ramses to Succoth, about 600,000 on foot that were men, besides children. 600,000 mighty men, valiant of war, ready to throw down, right? 600,000. This is from the 70 that went down. Okay, according to Exodus 1 and I think 5. It was 70 souls that came down there to live when Jacob came down to live with and his sons with Joseph. 70 that came out of the loins of Jacob. And now you got 600,000 men. It's going to tell you how long that happened, how quick it happened too. Verse 38. And the mixed multitude went up also with them, and flocks and herds, even very much cattle. And they baked unleavened cakes of the dough which they brought forth out of Egypt. For it was not leavened, because they were thrust out of Egypt and could not tarry, which means wait, neither had they prepared for themselves any victuals. So they were leaving up out of there, didn't even made them nothing to eat. But they was like, man, they saying we can go, man, let's get up out of here. So they left without all the leavening, in the unleavened bread. And this is why we eat the unleavened bread. So we can reenact the same thing, a portion of what they were doing, what they were going through. They ate the Passover, and then they ate the unleavened bread, and then they ate leavened bread as they went into the wilderness. They continued to eat it because they didn't have no leavening. This is why we eat the unleavened bread for 7 days. You see this? Now, verse 40. Now the sojourning of the children of Israel who dwelt in Egypt was 430 years. Right? Now, this should tell you that whole 400-year doctrine that was put out there, that have nothing to do in correlation with modern Egypt. Okay? This 430 years go all the way back to before the children of Israel, for they was put in bondage by the Egyptians. Okay? And that's another lesson, but I just want to show you. Everyone said 400 years, 400 years, 400 years. 400 years in the Bible, 400 years now. It's tell you right here, it's 430 years that they was in Egypt, right? So that means you got to do a little more standing to understand why I say 430 right here, right? 41. And it came to pass at the end of the 430 years, even the same day, it came to pass that all the hosts of Ahiah went out from the land of Egypt. It is a night to be much observed unto Ahiah for bringing them out from the land of Egypt. This is that night of Ahiah to be observed of all the children of Israel in their generation. So everybody nonstop, we supposed to observe what Ahiah did for our forefathers. We supposed to keep this holy day. We're not supposed to cease from this thing. We're supposed to really reverence and understand what the Most High did on the Passover night for us, right? Verse 43. And Ahiah said unto Moses and Aaron, this is the ordinance of the Passover. There shall no stranger eat thereof. So if you're not bloodline Israel, you're not eating the Passover. Period. Simple as that. Strangers is Gentiles, a non-Israelite, right? But every man's servant that is bought for money, when thou hast circumcised him, then shall he eat thereof. So when you buy a servant and you make sure he's circumcised, then you can eat the Passover. You're good. Other than that, you can't eat the Passover, right? A foreigner and a hired servant shall not eat thereof. So, again, you're a hired servant or you're a foreigner, you're not in Israel, then you can't eat thereof. Mind you, it says a manservant. That's an Israelite. That's not a foreigner. That's an Israelite. Okay, in our law, we can have servants. Okay, you got to know this. Servitude has been going on for a while, but our rules of servitude, according to our law, are different than the servitude that's going on in earth right now. Our servitude was in order. You know, we would pay the wages of our servant daily. You wouldn't let you, word say you don't let the wages of your servant remain until the morning. Because as soon as he worked that day, he's done his work, you give his bread right then and there. But today, you know, like in my line of work, I got to wait a week and almost 2 weeks. Week and a half, almost 2 weeks to get my check for work I did a week and a half ago. Okay? So just showing you that a servant, of course, is Israel. You got to make sure he's circumcised and bam, he can partake. But if he's a foreigner, there's nothing he can do to partake in this because this is a national holy day for the nation of Israel. It's not for everybody to do. Alright? In one house shall it be eaten. Thou shalt not carry forth aught of the flesh abroad out of the house, neither shall ye break a bone thereof. So, the Passover was for each house. That's why I say take a lamb according to the eating of your household. So, it's for that house. So, if somebody needs to keep a Passover for their house, they got to get their own lamb. Okay, we're not supposed to, we fix over here, we're going to come bring y'all something. Nah, don't go like that. Right? And you're not supposed to break the bone of the lamb when you kill the lamb and break down the lamb. Don't break no bones, man. Right? Verse 47. All the congregation of Israel shall keep it. And when a stranger shall sojourn with thee, and will keep the Passover to Ahiah, let all his males be circumcised. Then let him come near and keep it. And he shall be as one that is born in the land. For no uncircumcised person shall eat thereof. So this is giving you understanding of the stranger. Understand, somebody says stranger. You got a couple types of strangers. You got strangers of the nation who are strangers because they're walking in the ways of the Egyptians. All right? This is how, and I'll give you a quick understanding. This is how our forefathers were able to build the golden calves in the wilderness because they learned that from Egypt to worship the calves, the heifer, right? So they become strangers unto the Most High. So these people are the ones that are Israel, but they're being called strangers. But when they get them right and circumcise them, then they can partake and eat of the Passover. This is not a person that's not a Hebrew, all right? At this time they were called Hebrews. They weren't called Hebrews. They were called Hebrews and the sons of the Most High. They were not called Israel at this time because they hadn't came to the land and got the inherited land yet, right? So the stranger, that's the only way he's going to be able to take it. But he is a Hebrew. He's not a random dude that's not of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. He's not. Verse 49. One law shall be to him that is homeborn and unto the stranger that sojourneth among you. Thus did all the children of Israel, as I commanded Moses and Aaron, so did they. And it came to pass the selfsame day that I did bring the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt by their armies. So that is the story of the Passover and the Feast of Unleavened Bread, right? Now we're going to break down a little more. Let's go to Leviticus 23. This is how we are to keep the Passover now, right? Leviticus 23, and we'll start at verse 4. Okay. These are the feasts of Ahiah, even holy convocations, which ye shall proclaim in their season. So it's a certain time of the year you got to keep this holy day. All right. We read the first verse. It said, "This shall be beginning of months to you." Okay. So because this Passover and Feast of Unleavened Bread are on the 14th and 15th days of the new moon or the new season of the new year. This is when it's kept every single time at this season, right? In verse 5, in the 14th day of the first month at evening is Ahiah's Passover. And on the 15th day of the same month is the feast of unleavened bread unto Ahiah. 7 days you must eat unleavened bread. Verse 7, and the first day ye shall have an holy convocation. Ye shall do no servile work therein. Just like I tell you, the first day of the feast of unleavened bread, which will fall on first day or so-called Sunday, that will be a Sabbath because it's the first day of that feast, right? Verse 8, but ye shall offer an offering made by fire unto Ahiah 7 days. In the 7th day is a holy convocation. Ye shall do no servile work therein. So understand, we don't sacrifice to the Most High any animals on the altar because Yeshua is our forever holy atonement for sin. So there is no sacrificing, okay, on our altar. We are, by faith in Yeshua, we are baptized into his body, and therefore we are the temple of the Most High, and we offer sacrifice of praise, clapping of our hands, stomping of our feet, lifting up our voice, singing, dancing unto a higher. We are the actual sacrifice, so we should be praising the Most High, okay, every day, regardless. In the Holy Convocation on the first day and the last day, we do it as a congregation together. But the days in between, it's us that we should be offering a praise to him. That should be a sweet savor in the Most High's eyes. This should be our best praise. This should not be a lacking praise. It should be a praise, and you anoint your head with oil and offer yourself a sacrifice unto the Most High by praise and worship. Okay, we're going to go to Deuteronomy 16. Break down a little bit more. A little bit more on this Passover and unleavened bread. Okay, Deuteronomy 16:1. Observe the month of Abib. This is the first month of our Hebrew calendar, right? Observe the month of Abib and keep the Passover unto Ahiah thy power. For in the month of Abib, Ahiah thy power brought thee forth out of Egypt by night. Verse 2, thou shalt therefore sacrifice the Passover unto Ahiah thy power of the flock and the herd in the place which Ahiah shall choose to place his name there. All right, so this is when we get into the land, we're supposed to keep the Passover in the place where the Most High chose to put his name. So where did he chose to put his name? We'll go there right quick. 2 Chronicles, wow, glory to the Most High, 6. Okay, let's see. We'll start at verse 5. 2 Chronicles 6 and 5. Since the day that I brought forth my people out of the land of Egypt, I chose no city among all the tribes of Israel to build an house in that my name might be there. Neither chose I any man to be a ruler over my people Israel. Verse 6. But I have chosen Jerusalem that my name might be there, and have chosen David to be over my people Israel. So he chose Jerusalem to be the place where he told to put his name, and David to be the king over his people, right? Verse 7. Now it was in the heart of David my father. This is Solomon talking. Now it was in the heart of David my father to build an house for the name of Ahiah, power of Israel. But Ahiah said to David my father, for as much as it was in thine heart to build an house for my name, thou didst well in that it was in thine heart. Verse 9. Notwithstanding, thou shalt not build the house, but thy son, which shall come forth out of thy loins, he shall build the house for my name. So that house was the temple, Solomon's temple, right? This is where the Most High chose to put his name. So the Passover was, when they got into Israel, was to be kept at the temple. You understand? This is where we would gather together and keep the Passover, at this place. Read it one more time. Thou shalt therefore sacrifice the Passover unto Ahiah thy power of the flock and of the herd in the place where Ahiah shall choose to put his name there, which is the temple. Verse 3. Thou shalt eat no leavened bread with it. 7 days shalt thou eat unleavened bread therewith, even the bread of affliction. For thou camest forth out of the land of Egypt in haste, that thou mayest remember the day when thou camest forth out of the land of Egypt all the days of thy life. Right? So, what I want you to focus on here is it says that you eat unleavened bread for 7 days therewith, even the bread of affliction. Right? And we're going to break down what the bread of affliction is today. Right? Verse 4. And there shall be no leavened bread seen with thee in all thy coasts 7 days, neither shall there anything of the flesh which thou sacrificed the first day at evening remain all night until the morning. Meaning, like I said, if you eat the Passover lamb, whatever you don't eat, you got to burn it or throw away. It can't stay with you and eat it tomorrow. It's most holy, and it's according to the ordinance to be eaten that day. That's it. Right? Verse 5. Thou mayest not sacrifice the Passover within any of thy gates, which I thy power giveth thee. So, of course, it got sacrificed within their gates in Egypt, because that's where they were. But now, he says, when you come to Israel, you don't sacrifice the Passover in the gates. That's where it goes. It goes where I told you to put, where I put my name. Now, verse 6. But at the place which Ahiah thy power shall choose to place his name in, there thou shalt sacrifice the Passover at evening, at the going down of the sun, at the season that thou camest forth out of Egypt. So the Passover should be kept at the temple, and during the same season, 14th day of the first month, that y'all forefathers came out of Egypt. Right? This is what he's breaking down. It's going to go the same way. You're just not going to keep the Passover in your gates. Now you're going to keep it at the temple. So what is not going to be being done? You're not going to be putting no blood on the doorpost because you're not at home. Right? You're sacrificing it at the temple. Verse 7. And thou shalt roast and eat it in the place which I thy power shall choose, and thou shalt turn in the morning and go into thy tent. So after you keep the feast there, then you go to the tent. 6 days thou shalt eat unleavened bread, and on the 7th day shall be a solemn assembly to I thy power. Thou shalt do no servile work therein. So that will be your feast of unleavened bread. What after? Now mind you, when you keep the feast, this is in ancient Israel. When you keep the feast, keep it up there where the Most High says, put his name, right? At the temple. Right now, you got to understand, through Mashiach Yeshai, we are the temple, right? So we're going to bring this all for our circle of how we're going to do both today, okay? Because this is the whole declaration of what the Feast of the Passover and the Feast of Unleavened Bread is right here. You don't put the blood on the doorpost because you're doing it at the temple, right? And now we're going to break down how we keep that as the people, even when we're back in spiritual Egypt and Sodom right now. We still have to keep the Passover. It said forever in all thy dwellings, right? From generation to generation, forever, right? So that means you're supposed to keep the Passover. Now some will say you're only supposed to keep it in Jerusalem where he put his name, right? So we're going to read and see what the words say. So let's go to Isaiah 53. Break a little bit of this down. Isaiah 53. And we'll start at verse 4. Verse 53 and 4. Now, we're going into this because it said in Deuteronomy 16 that we should eat unleavened bread 7 days, the bread of affliction. Now, we need to understand what the bread of affliction is. Today, surely he had borne our grievances and carried our sorrows, yet we did esteem him stricken, smitten of eye, and afflicted. Verse 5. But he was wounded for our transgressions, he was bruised for our iniquities, and the chastisement of our peace was upon him, and with his stripes we are healed. This should be sounding familiar. All we like sheep have gone astray, we have turned every one to his own way, and Ahiah hath laid on him the iniquity of us all. Verse 7, he was oppressed, he was afflicted, yet he opened not his mouth. He is brought as a lamb to the slaughter, and as a sheep before her shearers is dumb, so he opened not his mouth. He was taken from prison and from judgment, and who shall declare his generation? For he was cut off out of the land of the living, for the transgression of my people was he stricken. So he's speaking of Yeshai. This is speaking of Yeshai, right? And he made his grave with the wicked and with the rich in his death, because he had done no violence, neither was any deceit in his mouth. Verse 10, yet it pleased Ahiah to bruise him. He had put him in grief. When thou shalt make his soul an offering for sin, he shall see his seed, he shall prolong his days, and the pleasure of Ahiah shall prosper in his hand. So, if you know about the body of Mashiach Yeshai, it was afflicted, right? Now, you got to understand, Yeshai, he's our atonement for sin. People say, oh, he made it do away with the law. Well, we know according to Matthew 5:17, he said, think not he come to destroy the law or the prophets. He come not to destroy, but to fulfill, right? So did Yeshai keep the Passover? Let's see what he did. Let's see if he kept the Passover. Matthew 26. And we're going here because we want to show that so many people believe we keep the law that we don't believe in the Messiah. Yes, we do. And we're going to show you that Messiah, he kept the Passover as well. This is Matthew 26, verse 17. Now the first day of the feast of unleavened bread, the disciples came to Yeshua, saying unto him, Where wilt thou that we prepare for thee to eat the Passover? So it says on the first day of the feast of unleavened bread, because you're going to eat feast of unleavened bread, you're going to eat unleavened bread with the Passover. So don't think, oh, it's really 8 days. Nah, it's still 7 days, but you're going to eat that with the Passover. Verse 18, and he said, Go into the city to such a man, and say to him, The master said, My time is at hand. I will keep the Passover at thy house with my disciples. And the disciples did as Yeshua had appointed them, and they made ready the Passover. And when the evening was come, they sat down. And when the evening was come, he sat down with the 12. Right? So he sat down, kept the Passover with the disciples. So showing you this is something that we're supposed to do. He's our perfect example. All right? Moving forward a little bit more to verse 26, it says, And as they were eating, Yeshua took the bread and blessed it and brake it and gave it to the disciples and said, Take, eat, this is my body. Verse 27, And he took the cup and gave thanks and gave it to them, saying, Drink ye all of it, for this is my blood of the New Testament, which is shed for many for the remission of sins. So understand, the bread that he given them, this is the unleavened bread. But he's giving them a revelation because he said he's our Passover, right? Yeshua is our Passover. So, when he kept the feast, mind you, this is the timeline. Coming in the evening, coming into Passover, he kept the feast of the Passover, the lamb and the bread, because he know at the eating later on in the Passover day, he would give himself up as the lamb Passover. So he fulfilled it, keeping the feast and in his flesh. This is what you got to understand of why Paul says that he's our Passover. Right? Now, when it said in Isaiah 53 that he was afflicted, this is why I said the bread. This is my body, which is broken for you. Then he tells them the blood of the New Testament. Because the covenant, which testament means just covenant, it was made by Moses by blood. Okay? Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the nation of Israel, he sprinkled blood on us when he read us the covenant and the law. And by blood, okay, we are to keep the law. So he's saying, this is the New Testament through my blood. Meaning you ain't got to sacrifice lambs, rams, and goats, pigeons no more, because I'm shedding my blood for you. Okay? So it's not that ever the law is done away with. It's just that the sacrificial portion is now through his blood. Right? This is the implementation of what we know as communion. Right? He kept the Passover feast and installed communion. So we are supposed to take this as a part of the Passover day. We take it coming into the Passover day, which is yesterday. You take the wine and the bread. Okay? Because we live by faith in Hamashiach Yeshua. Alright? So keeping the Passover, as he kept the Passover, he implemented communion. So that's why we take it coming in to the Passover. At evening on the Sabbath. You come in, you take the wine and the bread in remembrance of Hamashiach Yeshua. And the night at evening, as it's saying the word, you kill the Passover. Right? So we're doing both. It's all on one day because he's our Passover. This is the revelation of how we keep the Passover and the faith in the Hamashiach Yeshua. Right? One precept real quick, just to show you that this is how it's supposed to go down. The Revelation 14 and 12. Here's the patience of the saints. Here are they that keep the commandments of Ahia and the faith in the Hamashiach Yeshua. So this is both. This is a revelation for you to understand what our faith in the Hamashiach Yeshua is all fulfilled. Yeshua didn't add, he didn't brush something away. He did everything accordingly as a bloodline descendant of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob from the tribe of Judah. And he instilled something that represented what he did for us. All right? Just like the blood of the lamb was stricken on the doorpost and it saved the children of Israel from the destroyer coming in their house, killing them. Yeshua's blood that he shed for us is going to save us from the wages of sin, which is death. Right? The payment for sin. Matter of fact, let's get that right quick. Let's get that. got to know this, right? Romans 6:23. For the wages of sin is death, but the gift of Ahia is eternal life through Yeshua, the anointed, our master. So we know that the payment for sin is death, right? Matter of fact, and let's get 1 Corinthians 6:20. Anybody who's sin, you're supposed to die. That's what he's telling you, right? 1 Corinthians 6:20, it says, for ye are bought with a price, therefore glorify Ahia in your body and in your spirit, which are Ahia's. So we belong to the Most High, because when Yeshua died on the cross, his blood shed for us, it bought us, because instead of us dying and our blood getting shed for transgression of law, he shed his blood, so we still got life because of him. So we got bought with him. So we belong to him, right? This is the revelation of that. We belong to him, so we're supposed to glorify and do what the Most High say. Because we're supposed to be dead already, right? Now, let's go to 1 Corinthians 5. 1 Corinthians 5. 5 and 6, all right? So this is going to give you a little more revelation about the bread, okay? Your glorying is not good. Know ye not that a little leaven leaveneth the whole lump? This is talking about your character. Being proud, boastful, cocky, conceited, all right? For this feast on unleavened bread, you're going to be reassessing, okay, yourself and analyzing yourself like, man, I'm puffing up. You know what I'm saying? I don't know nothing. The Bible said if a man think he knows something, he know nothing. Right? You got to rededicate yourself unto the Most High in meekness and fear. Right? And humble yourself before him and be thankful for the grace that you have of life. Okay? This is what the Feast on Unleavened Bread is. It's killing that old leaven. Okay? Killing that boastful spirit. Killing that I know enough spirit. I'm good. And the Most High, he going to, man, the Most High don't have to do a thing else for us. He gave us his son. He don't have to do a thing else for us. Y'all need to know that, man. He gave his only son, man, and watched him get dealt with by something he created, by men that he created. And he had his son who was in the beginning that created. And he going to let them do that. He don't have to do nothing else. So we have grace from the Most High. We should always be forever humble and thankful to the Most High. All right? The word says the meek shall inherit the earth. Right? We got to be more meek, y'all. We get the blessing from the Most High. We can't puff up, right? Verse 7. Purge out therefore the old leaven, that ye may be a new lump, as ye are unleavened. For even Yeshua, even our anointed, for even Hamashiach, our Passover, is sacrificed for us. So this is showing you how Christ correlates with the Passover. Okay? He's our Passover. Not because he's the lamb that's this is the understanding you got to have. The Passover was never sacrificed on an altar, as we read in Exodus and Deuteronomy. It was sacrificed within your gates, and then it was to be kept at the temple. But it was never an atonement for sin. It was to keep the death angel from passing over their houses, to keep the death angel from coming in the house and killing them. So when he says he's the Passover, it's the revelation that his blood is saving you, just like the revelation of the blood of the lamb and the Passover in Egypt saved him from the destroyer. It's not that he's the Passover in the sense of he's that lamb that you, because he was never, the Passover lamb was never for sin. It's the Passover for saving your life. That's the revelation of him being our Passover. You understand? Verse 8, therefore let us keep the feast not with old leaven, meaning a old character of cockiness and boastfulness and arrogance, neither with the leaven of malice and wickedness, one people to suffer for something somebody wanted done to you. Don't be holding no grudges. Don't be holding no bitterness in you. Don't be holding nothing in, man. That stuff is leaven, is leaven, man. Okay? That puff you up like, man, I know brothers say, man, sometimes they get treated a certain way and they want people to get their judgment. Man, we supposed to have a judgment. So we can't be worrying about how the Most High going to deal with others. He's going to deal with them in that time and in that season, right? Don't be having that spirit, right? But with the unleavened bread of sincerity and truth, man, we got to be sincere and work for the Most High spirit and truth, and worry about our temple, worry about our walk and our family, that we upright. The Most High is going to deal with everybody in their season, right? So the Feast of Unleavened Bread, you're going to be working on yourself. Okay, it's not just that you eating some bread. You're working on yourself, your physical temple, right? Now we're going to go to Hebrews chapter 9. Chapter 9. And verse 14. Okay. How much more than the blood of the anointed Christ, who through the eternal Spirit offered himself without spot to Ahia, purge your conscience from dead works to serve the living power. So this is just saying, how much more will his death, because his death and resurrection and his ascension up into heaven allowed the Comforter or the Holy Spirit to come down in us and to purge our minds from wanting to live wickedly. The Holy Spirit leads and directs you and guides you to all truth. So when we offer lambs, rams, and goats and bulls, that will cover that sin for right then and there. But you still got the knowledge how to do wrong. You still have desire. You still battling this stuff with your flesh. So the Holy Spirit gives you power in your spirit, because the spirit and the flesh, they war daily. So now you got power in the spirit to shut your flesh up. Punk your flesh. Like, oh, we're not doing the worries of the wicked. We're going to do what the highest say. Right? Verse 15. And for this cause he is the mediator of the New Testament by his blood, that by the means of death for the redemption of the transgressions that were under the first testament, they which are called might receive the promise of eternal inheritance. So, understanding that the redemption is the purchasing of the people. That's what he said. We are bought with a price, because they should die by the first testament, which is the law of sacrificing lambs, rams, and goats. Now it says he is the mediator of the New Testament, meaning now you're going to get the promise, which is that land in Israel that was promised to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and to his seed forever. Now you can get it through my blood, because it wasn't working out the way you was doing it before. So now through my blood, this is going to allow you to keep the law, right, and not die when you transgress the law. You're going to be able to keep it now through this testament, through my blood, through me as a mediator between you and the Father, right? For where a testament is, there must also of necessity be the death of a tester. For a testament is of force after men are dead, otherwise it is of no strength at all while the tester liveth. So the law is there. Somebody's going to die because the law is there. That's basically what it's telling you. Okay, the covenant was made. Somebody's going to die. If nobody dies from the covenant, then why did you even make the covenant? That's basically what the word is telling you. It was there because you got to teach us, you know what I'm saying, how to be obedient to the Most High. We were more or less getting put to death because we weren't keeping the law. So he said, I'm going to come as a mediator in between you, and I'm going to offer supplication to the Most High for you. But my blood, he's going to see, have mercy on y'all because of my blood, right? Because of who I am to the Most High. I'm his first begotten, right? A little bit more. Whereupon neither the first testament was dedicated without blood, because the first testament was dedicated with blood. Verse 19, for when Moses had spoken every precept to all the people according to the law, he took the blood of calves and of goats with water and scarlet wool and hyssop, and sprinkled both the book and all the people. So we by blood covenant, y'all, we are binded to this covenant, to the Most High, to keep his law, statutes, and commandments, right? Verse 20, saying this is the blood of the testaments which Ahia had enjoyed unto you. Right? So the blood of Yeshua, that is the new blood that's keeping us or giving us the opportunity to keep the covenant and come into the promises that we trying to get. That's all Israel trying to attain, is the promise. Right? Now, let's go to John chapter 6. Verse 31. Read a little more. This is all going into now of how Yeshua kept it and what he meant by him being our Passover. This is John chapter 6, verse 31. Our fathers did eat manna in the desert, as is written. He gave them bread from heaven to eat. Then Yeshua said unto them, verily, verily I say unto you, Moses gave you not the bread from heaven, but my Father giveth you the true bread from heaven. For the bread of Ahiah is he which cometh down from heaven, and giveth life unto the world. Now we know Yeshua came down from heaven and was made flesh, and he gave life unto the world. So he's speaking of himself, right? Speaking of himself. Then they said unto him, Master, evermore give us this bread. Verse 35. And Yeshua said unto them, I am the bread of life. He that cometh to me shall never hunger, and he that believeth on me shall never thirst. So this is showing you, he's that bread. This unleavened bread. Now as we in today, when we take the communion and the bread, we are taking the life that's representation of the body of Yeshua. Okay, because remember, his body was the bread. His body was afflicted, just as the bread of affliction that we're supposed to take in the Feast of Unleavened Bread. It's the same thing, y'all. Same thing. That's why he comes right in and fulfills everything in his body and in all his actions. He fulfilled everything, right? Jump over to verse 49. It says, verse 48, I am that bread of life. Verse 49, your fathers did eat manna in the wilderness and are dead. Verse 50, this is the bread which cometh down from heaven, that a man may eat thereof and not die. Talking about the faith in him, by believing through him that your sins can be forgiven, and therefore being able to receive the promise of eternal life in the land of our inheritance, Israel. Right? I am the living bread which came down from heaven. If any man eat of this bread, he shall live forever. And the bread that I will give is my flesh, which I will give for the life of the world. So he's breaking down all the way. Bread is his flesh. I mean, you believe on his flesh that got afflicted and bruised for our iniquities. By his stripes we are healed, and by his blood we're going to be able to get remission of sins and be in good standing according to the covenant to get the promises of the Most High. That's how you're going to get the eternal life. This is what he's showing you, right? Read a little more. The Jews therefore strove amongst themselves, saying, how can this man give us his flesh to eat? Verse 53. Then Yeshua said unto them, verily, verily, I say unto you, except ye eat the flesh of the Son of Man, and drink his blood, ye have no life in you. Whoso eateth my flesh and drinketh my blood hath eternal life, and I will raise him up at the last day. For my flesh is meat indeed, and my blood is drink indeed. He that eateth my flesh and drinketh my blood dwelleth in me, and I in him. So, what does this talk about? This is talking about communion. This is talking about the communion. Alright? Now let's read about that, so we can know exactly what that's what's talking about with that. 1 Corinthians 11 and 23. 11 and 23. It says, 1 Corinthians 11 and 23. For I have received of Ahiah that which also I delivered unto you, that the Master Yeshua, the same night in which he was betrayed, took bread. So this is Paul talking, quoting what happened in historically. When he was betrayed, which was on the Passover, the night he became our Passover, this is what he said. Verse 24, and when he had given thanks, he brake it and said, take, eat, this is my body which is broken for you. This do in remembrance of me. So this is the bread he took. Same bread of the Passover, same bread of the Feast of Unleavened Bread. He said, this is my body. So this is how you eat his body. This is how you eat his flesh, is when you eat the body, right? After this, I'll read it again. And when he had given thanks, he brake it and said, take, eat, this is my body which is broken for you. This do in remembrance of me. You're doing it because of him. That's why you're doing it now. So when you're taking the Feast of Unleavened Bread, you're remembering him, right? After the same manner also he took the cup when he had supped, saying, this cup is the New Testament in my blood. This do ye as oft as ye drink it in remembrance of me. So the blood is representing the blood that he shed, right? So we still do this communion because we drink we do the communion at the beginning of Passover because he kept the Passover, and this is also a remembrance of him being our Passover. We drink the blood, we drink the wine as the blood, and we eat the bread as his body. This is why we do this on the Passover, because he's our Passover, and this is what he implemented when he kept the Passover. You understand? For as often as ye eat this bread and drink this cup, ye do show the master's death until he come. Wherefore, whosoever shall eat this bread and drink this cup of the master unworthily shall be guilty of the body and blood of the master. But let a man examine himself, and so let him eat of that bread and drink of that cup. For he that eateth and drinketh unworthily, eateth and drinketh damnation to himself, not discerning the master's body. So understand, this will be you're checking yourself, okay? You're leavening in yourself, man, right? When you take the communion, you better analyze yourself, and you better repent. Is there anything that's wrong with you? Anything that you have not went up with your brother, straightened out? Any issue, you got to straighten that out, or you're going to drink yourself into damnation, right? Because you're not supposed to drink it, man, when you got the type of spirit, a puffed up spirit, okay? A leavened spirit, you got to be unleavened, right? This is the understanding you give it, man. You take this in remembrance of him, and you take it on the Passover at the same time he took it. We're supposed to drink the wine and the bread coming into the Passover, and then the Passover night we kill the lamb, and you eat it with the unleavened bread, right? Almost done, y'all. Let's go to, matter of fact, let's read, let's go to Exodus 4:22, just to show you one little more thing, how Yeshai correlates with the law and the Passover. We're going to go to Exodus 4:22, a couple more precepts and we're done. It says, and thou shalt say unto Pharaoh, thus saith Ahiah, Israel is my son, even my firstborn, right? Ahiah is saying, Israel is my son, even my firstborn, right? Now we go to Hosea, chapter 11, and verse 1. Israel is my son, even my firstborn, right? Okay, Hosea chapter 11, verse 1, and it says, when Israel was a child, then I loved him and called my son out of Egypt, right? So, what are we reading this for? We're going to show you right now. Matthew 2:13, right? Showing you how Yeshai just fulfilled the word in so many manners. We got brought out of Egypt by the Most High, right? Okay, let's see. We are the son. He said, Israel is my servant and his firstborn, right? Okay. Now, we have Matthew 2:13. And when they departed, behold, the angel, this is talking about Mary and Joseph. When they departed, behold, the angel of Ahiah appeared to Joseph in a dream, saying, arise and take the young child and his mother and flee into Egypt, right? And be thou there until I bring thee word, for Herod will seek the young child to destroy him. When he rose, he took the young child and his mother by night and departed into Egypt. Verse 15, and was there until the death of Herod, that it might be fulfilled which was spoken of Ahiah by the prophet, saying, this is what Hosea said, out of Egypt have I called my son. So the Most High sent his son into Egypt, just like we, Israel, is his son. We was in Egypt, and he what? Called him out, just like he called us out. Same thing. And when he called us out? On the Passover night. Called him out, right? Then Herod, verse 16, then Herod, when he saw that he was mocked of the wise men, was exceedingly wroth, and sent forth and slew all the children that were in Bethlehem, and in all the coasts thereof, from 2 years old and under, according to the time which he had diligently inquired of the wise men. So this is just too much correlation, right? All the firstborn were killed in Egypt, and then they came out Passover. Israel came out as Ahiah's son and firstborn. Then Hamashiach Yeshai, who was the son of the Most High, and his first and only begotten of the Most High. Same thing. When they took him to Egypt, they killed all the firstborn, 2 years old, younger, 2 years old and younger. Killed them all, and then he brought them up out of there when Herod was dead. Same thing. See how Yeshai line up with the Passover. So we got to keep the feast, y'all. Okay, today is the first day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread. Yesterday was Passover, it was a blessed feast. I tried to do the lesson for y'all yesterday, but it didn't work out. But glory to the Most High. We are to keep the Passover and the feast. You Christians, you understand, you don't got to be scared of the Passover. It's your history, your heritage. Those that you are of the bloodline, descendant of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. We are to keep the feast and the faith in the Hamashiach Yeshai. As you can see, Hamashiach Yeshai kept the feast, and you see the correlations of what we're doing We're remembering his body that was broken for us. And remembering the blood that he shed for us at the New Testament, New Covenant for the atonement for our sins. And we are doing it, we're reanalyzing ourselves, purging up the old leaven of our character, not having no malice, no wickedness, but having a mind to serve the Most High, spirit and truth, meekness and fear, being humble to our brethren. All right? So that will conclude the lesson. All glory and praise, honor to the Most High, show higher. You know what I'm saying? Y'all be strong out there. Don't worry about these plagues. They're not for us. Just like in ancient Israel, none of the plagues harmed Israel. They all harmed all the Egyptians. We was in Goshen chilling, right? Only those that puffed it up, only those that puffing up, man, you're going to take yourself out of being under Israel. Romans tell you all Israel is not Israel. So let's just be strong in the Most High and keep the laws, statutes, and commandments and the faith in the Mashiach Yeshua. And we ain't got to worry about none of these plagues, you know, that's going out here, you know, by the hand of the Most High. All right? So this is your brother Shemai, you know, signing off. Y'all be blessed. Sin not. You know, pray, fast, seek the Most High. Love your brother. You know what I'm saying? And we'll be in Zion soon. Kwame Asha Allah. Shalom.